Is it real? And what is it doing there?
Now they're speaking out, saying there are UFOs in U.S. airspace and they need to be taken seriously.
A family in Highland, Michigan believes their house is actually haunted and thinks something is harming their little girl. They're unidentified in U.S. airspace.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real.
I'm Todd Bates. I've been investigating the paranormal for years, yet still have no definite answers. Join me on this mysterious journey as we discuss all things paranormal, right down to the little gnomes. Why do millions experience these mysterious phenomenon, yet we have no proof? Welcome to Haunted Voices Radio, where I try and gather the pieces that may one day form yet another puzzle. And a good evening, one and all. Welcome, Haunted Voices Live, right here on WLTK-DB.com. That's where you need to go. We got the new store set up for you that just opened the other day. It's a lot of fun, new items in there, even a cool bar glass. I just thought that was the coolest looking thing, the old-fashioned glass. But
I got to get that. There's a spot in my cupboard just right there waiting for it. So I will do that. Awesome.
There's some cool stuff going on over there. Cool stuff going on over there. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking time to listen to the show tonight. I know you guys could be pretty much anywhere. There's a lot of good stuff going on at this time, and you guys are stuck with us, and we thank you for it very much. How you doing, Nicole?
I'm doing good. I am. Week's flying by, doing great. You?
Good.
Good.
The week, like you said, is flying by like freaking crazy. This entire year, we are in mid-August.
Can you believe that? It's literally almost going to be Christmas time soon.
Yeah.
I feel like I just put my decorations away.
Yeah.
Nutty.
I feel like we just turned the lights off.
Right. I know.
It's going by super quick. We've got an awesome show planned for you fine folks tonight. We have got none other than Miss Carol Hughes coming on, executive producer, Real Ghost Stories Online, host the Grave Talks. So much we're going to talk about. There's if you guys have any questions, any stories of your own that you want to share, be sure and post those in the comments over there, YouTube, Facebook, all the fun places we're going to. And we have moved to Thursday nights, still getting emails, Nicole. People
really?
We're on Friday nights.
I
and
imagine.
It's okay. The transition will come slowly. But we're back on Thursday nights. We were at this slot years and years ago. I remember a Thursday night slot, but we just kind of bounce around and land where we can.
Thursday is where it is, and we have some people trickling in here. Hello, John.
How you doing, John?
And Jamie Lynn. Nice to see you.
Hi, Jamie Lynn.
And then, of course, Ron from GRS. Ron Lovat. Awesome person.
Good. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to kind of get into some ghost stories. We're going to get into Carol's journey.
Yes.
What got her into all of this? What got her into podcasting? And of course, we're going to talk about her 30 years of radio that I just learned about. So
that's an accomplishment right there. That is an accomplishment.
That's huge.
I know.
The stress involved with it is insane.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, it takes a good person, takes a special person to do something like that.
Absolutely. Hello, Carrie Ann.
Hi, Carrie Ann. Welcome. Now, what we'll do is we will take this break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Carol. I posted the links. If you guys want to follow it, be sure and check them out. The links are posted right there in all the social feeds for the two podcasts. You definitely want to check these podcasts out. We're going to talk about them here coming up. So you guys stay tuned. More Haunted Voices on the way.
If you're a fan of the paranormal world, then you'll love WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Talk shows bringing you the latest on everything paranormal, cryptozoological, metaphysical, true crime, psychic readings, and more. The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK-DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5, and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
And 10 minutes past the hour-ish. Welcome back, folks. Haunted Voices Live right here on WLTK-DB.com. Those
Hello,
of you
guys.
just joining us, Nicole and I are going to have a nice, awesome sit-down tonight with none other than Carol Hughes, executive producer, host. The links are right there. Real Ghost Stories Online, The Grave Talks. We're going to talk all things paranormal, what got her interested. If you guys have any questions, comments, post them over there on the links, and we will get those on screen here. Nicole is freaking awesome with that.
No, I try, everyone.
You
I
do.
I try. Practice.
All
makes
right.
perfect.
Without further ado, let's bring Carol out here. Welcome to the show, Carol. Great to have
Hey, you guys.
Hello, Carol. Nice to see you again.
You too. Thank you for having me on tonight. This is going to be fun.
Oh, yes.
I had Nicole on one of the episodes of the Grave Talks.
Oh, that was so much fun.
It was a couple months ago, maybe. I don't remember.
I think it was in
probably about that.
June. Yeah, I think so.
I know, but
So-
I don't know how it's already August. So
I know.
Same here.
I mean, it's,
Same here. God.
you know, if it isn't the time warp speed, it's the weather.
Yes.
It's the heat. It's just all kinds of craziness. I don't know. People saying there's a shift happening, change happening.
We're getting a hurricane. It's going to be a tropical storm, but it's Hillary. So this weekend, San Diego is going to get drenched. So looking forward to it. We're dry over here. We haven't had rain in a while. So.
See,
and that's
it's
a
so
good
weird.
thing. That's a good thing.
Mhm.
It's so strange. So your journey into the paranormal. I mean, we're going to get into podcasting. We're going to get into all kinds of cool stuff tonight because there's so much out there, and I have listened to some of your shows, and they are fantastic. By the way,
Oh, thank you.
Great work.
Thank you. It's fun. It's fun to do.
You can tell a lot of work and passion goes into what you do and the real experiences. But what got you? Hi, Tracy.
Hi,
What got
Tracy.
you going in this? Was it a childhood experience?
Yes. Yes, very much so. I grew up in a haunted house. We moved in, well, I grew up from 7 until about 13. So pretty formative years. And I think when you live in a house like that, or there's an environment where you're exposed to it, it just kind of goes in your DNA, it just, and I swear it follows you. Now, I don't think those entities are still following me. I think that I'm just open to it. And I think at a young age, a lot of kids are more open to the experience whereas an adult, you can't have it. But I think when that happens to you as a child, you tend to be more open to it throughout your life, whether you like it or not. So I'm all the
Formative
time,
years, like
nothing
you
scary,
said.
nothing scary. I don't want scary, but sometimes, scary things happen. But it was living in that house for that long. All I wanted when I left that house was to live in a regular place that wasn't like that. I remember the day we left, and I was like, finally, I don't have to live here anymore. I don't have to live like this anymore. And we were backing out of the driveway in the station wagon, looking at the back of the house. And up the second floor, my brother and sister had a bedroom that they shared. And they had these little cowboy and Indian curtains. And the curtains were closed. And then you saw like someone took their hand and moved a curtain like that.
Oh, my goodness.
And then back. And I was like,
wow.
So that just was like the exclamation point on the end of that. And I was like, and it's watching us leave. So it was just kind of, I was really happy to leave. Let's say that.
Really happy to leave.
And that's 7 years too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we all know about the prepubescent theory of, psychokinetic energy. Did you sense a change in how you perceived the activity in your house from when you were 7, 8, moving on into like the teens? 13,
that's
14?
weird. I think that some of it I've kind of blocked out.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't remember moving in there. I don't remember, I don't remember like ever thinking, what is that? Why is that happening? It just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And my father wasn't around much. And then my mother, but he did have quite a few experiences in that house. My mother was trying to raise 5 kids and she had mental health issues. So there wasn't really anyone to talk about it with at the time, other than my siblings. And so it was just kind of all we knew was that. But I also knew that my friends didn't have a house like that, because you could walk into their house and it would feel normal.
Yeah, it was normal.
In my house, it feels like a haunted house. That energy
must have been
was
pretty active.
It was a very active. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was.
So that sparked the curiosity.
And I think it's weird because especially with the Grave Talks show, I've talked to so many people, and so many of us that had an experience maybe when we were young. Most people had some sort of paranormal experience, which is what brought them into this. But even though I didn't want to experience it, and I still don't want to, I'm still drawn to it. Like probably both of you. There's been an experience, maybe something scared the crap out of you, but yet you're still drawn to it and fascinated by it.
Right.
That's why I think that's when it gets in your DNA.
It does. That's actually a good way to put it too.
It does. It wiggles its way in there. It's almost like, hi, Thomas.
Hi, Tom.
Wish I had. We all do, Thomas.
Yeah, I know, right?
We all do. And that's the beauty of this and these experiences in you experiencing them as a child. I wanted to kind of get your opinion on this, the openness of children compared to closed-minded adults as we get older, which I find ironic, because here we are investigating a field and we're also closed-minded. It's not funny.
It is totally is ironic.
We seem to get that way as we progress and get older. What do you think, as far as being that age, having those experiences? What do you think as far as from an open-minded standpoint, intuition standpoint? Did you have any types of feelings? What did you see?
As far as like seeing something there, I never saw anything there. You could hear it. Things would walk around, things would move, things would turn on and turn off, and a lot of that. But I think, as an adult, I have like I kind of try to shut it down. I don't really want that to come in.
Mhm.
But I'm telling you, if I walk in a place that there's activity there, you walk in and feel it. I don't think you can ever shut it off.
Right.
And I always said, like, it's like somewhere back here, like there's just somebody staring at you right behind you. And I don't know what that is, but I still feel it to this day. If I go to someone's house, one of my friends, she lives in a haunted house. So they just bought it. She's like, hey, would you come over and let me know if you think it's haunted? Which I think is a really awkward thing to do because you just bought the house and yay, it's haunted.
Hey, it's haunted.
What do you tell somebody? Let's invite people over. And so I'm like walking around her house and they were going down in the basement. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Basement, right? It's like
basements,
so funny
closets,
how
attics.
I know,
And so,
I'm just kidding.
but I could really feel it. And so then later she's like, well, do you think it's haunted? And I'm like, I'm answering a question that you already know. So yes, I do. But you wouldn't have asked me that if you wouldn't have already thought that. But I did have, it happened with a couple other people. One of them was my nephew. And he bought a house and I went to his house. I was like, oh man, how do I tell him your house is haunted? So I didn't. And then one of my friends, he bought a house and I went over there and I'm like, oh, I can stay in this house by myself. So a couple months later, he said, do you pick up anything in my house? I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Since you asked.
Since you asked, right?
But I just don't think that's something you want to offer up to people. It's like, by the way, can you sell it? That'd be a good idea.
At some states, you have to label it, don't you?
You do. California, one of them? I think. Pardon?
Isn't California one of them, Nicole?
I think, well, with California, you have to disclose if a death occurred in the property.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I have to look the haunted. That's a good question. I should know that being that I live here, but yeah.
I think California is one of them, pretty sure. But
well, California. Yeah, it's not a surprise. But haunted, like what's your definition of a haunted house? If someone can,
sorry, you're going to see my cat.
Hi. Oh,
he just wants to join us. That's Izzy. Stay back. I think he's trying to walk behind everything I have set up. It's going to not end well.
Oh my gosh.
To me, I think there's just different levels of haunting. And I think that there's some that are just really, really dark. And I think that, like this house, I've always felt like there's a presence here, but it's very warm and loving. And it's like a big old hug. I think this house is wonderful. But then, you walk into somebody else's house and you feel that real dark thing. Now, the house we lived in as a kid, I would hear him. There was something in the attic upstairs. I don't know what it was. There was a bathroom with an attic, which is creepy. And it had like the little door that you'd have to, even as a kid, you had to bend over to get in.
Ooh.
And there was something in that attic. I don't know what that was, but at night you could hear a man with like heavy boots or something, because it's an old house built in about 1900. So it was very creaky. And he would walk out of that bathroom and along the stair railing and then walk down the stairs, and he might just walk along the railing, might walk down the stairs, might walk out the door, might walk this way. So it would be different. And so you'd be laying in bed and here's somebody walking by your bedroom, and my dad was never there. So I don't know who this guy is walking around, but that would happen frequently. And to me, that's trying to scare kids, that's not okay.
Yeah. And it may have been something residual too, but
right.
But to scare someone like that, and it may have been an intention to get your attention, maybe because you were the only one that could hear it.
No, all the kids heard it.
All the kids
and
heard
my
it?
mom could hear it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. So it was not just me.
You actually bring up a good point, Todd, because a lot of people will, maybe because they don't want to have an experience, or maybe they just don't have a lot of knowledge in the paranormal, a lot of experience. They'll go somewhere and have an encounter, and they're going to automatically assume like, wow, this entity wants to get my attention or wants to try to joke with me or whatever. And then we have to realize maybe that's what we're thinking and that's not its intention at all. That's it. Just, it makes you think about that.
Yeah.
And you wonder too, how many paranormal experiences you've had that you didn't know you had. In that,
right. Yeah.
Because we were talking about this on an episode of Real Ghost Stories recently about, it kind of sounded a little bit like an urban legend story, but he was coming home late, going to sneak, down the driveway to the house and saw this girl crying and then she disappeared. But, have you ever been someplace and kind of made eye contact with someone and got a weird feeling? And then I was like,
yeah,
maybe that was a paranormal experience. Maybe that person wasn't even there and you just saw it. You don't know.
That's true.
That's very true. That's very true. And that reminds me of that experience I had on the Queen Mary, Nicole.
Oh, yeah.
It's just in the hallway. I thought somebody was walking down the hallway. And no, I turned around. There's no one there. And it was plain as day. They looked just as real as anybody else, just zipping down the hallway. It can happen to anyone, anywhere.
Right. And say if there'd have been several people in the hallway, you might not have even noticed. Just thinking it was just a person and you don't think anything about it. So I've wondered that before. It's like, have I seen things that I didn't even realize?
Yeah, the peripheral vision, especially.
Where you kind of turn and just when you said that, my cat popped up from behind my desk. I was like,
let him pop up.
It was a cat paw. He's trying to get my attention.
Thomas,
Queen Mary bucket list.
I'm with
Talk
Thomas.
To me. I live there practically. So
then will you go with me sometime, Nicole?
Yes,
I would love to do. I would love to
been
do
there
that.
a few times. Yeah,
that would be so fun.
She knows that ship like the back of her hand, and it's an amazing place. It is one of a kind. Something I think everybody needs to experience at least once in their life. It's just,
I think you even said, Todd, that it's the eighth one. I thought someone said this, the eighth wonder of the world. I'm like, wow, that's true.
Yeah.
I think it was you, actually.
It really is. It's an interesting haunting in itself. You get the best of all worlds there. I mean, there's different types you can get out there, and this one there's so many different stories and just the history behind it, and which these go hand in hand with the field, of course, is history. But going on a ship like that, or a haunting in general, personal experiences, my goodness, some people will see something or experience something, maybe just feel something like you said, and that's just their personal experience. No one else around them had that experience or felt any tingling on the neck or anything like that, but the individual did. And I think that's the takeaway that a lot of them get. And I think, the spirit can definitely manipulate the mind a little bit. The brain can make us see different frequencies and so forth. I think they can really get in there and do some work. And if they want that experience to be ours, it will be ours, and it's not our job to prove it to anybody.
Right.
If I could sit here and tell you both that I see an apparition right now, there's no one here to prove me wrong. So that's the thing that's the thing with this field and how it's going. It's tough. But personal experiences are key. And hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
I mean, I love them because you never forget. Really, once you experience, I think, something like this, you can't like unsee an apparition. You can't unhear an EVP. It can change over time, but that's why I love this field. It's just ever changing.
Well, I interviewed a psychic one day, and she lived in a very haunted house growing up. And so we were talking about what that experience was like and kind of comparing some notes. We were about the same age. And her house was really haunted. But we were talking about believing in paranormal. She goes, it's not that I believe in it. It's that I experienced it. It's not a belief. It's an experience, and it's as real to me as playing piano or whatever you might do. You experienced it. That's something that, just like going to a concert or anything, you experienced seeing Taylor Swift or whatever that was a real thing that happened to you. And so when you are laying in bed and you hear something walking around at night, or you see an apparition or something, that's very real. So it's not a belief anymore at that point. It's
and
not
you don't have
believing in
to
it when you
believe.
experienced it.
Right. Yeah. And you don't have to believe to experience. You can experience without really having, in my opinion, at least,
Look what happens to a lot of the
solid
skeptics.
belief.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
And don't you find a lot of, because I have people all the time because of what I do, they're like, hey, I got a ghost story for you. And I'm like, great. But it's funny because people will go, well, I don't really believe in that stuff. But this one time, and then they'll go on to tell me the most paranormal story. I'm like, well, how do you explain that then? Like, what was that?
That's the fun part of this.
But I just find that so interesting. I'm like, okay, so how do you explain that then? If you don't believe in the paranormal, what did happen to you? How do you rationalize that? So I think that's kind of an interesting conversation to have with people, because I'm like, you're really not a skeptic.
It is. And there's been a few skeptics. The one in particular this guy didn't believe in believing. He was very skeptical, very, very skeptical. And he had something touch him. And of course, now he's not. But, I tried to debunk it for him. And he says, no, that was an old, cold, dead hand. That's exactly what he said. That touched him. So it woke him up. That was in an old theater. So it's those little experiences like that can knock you into the next level. And then once you're into this field, it's tough to get back out, because you're in a place that welcomes you and your experiences, and you can share them. You can learn from each other. That's the beauty of it. That's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And I'm wondering if people, or a lot of people, will have these experiences when it's meant for them to have it.
That's a good point.
I think too, a lot of times you're just so busy. Everyone is so busy, and you've got a million things on your mind. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to go to work. You got to pay the bills. And so it's just constant. And then sometimes you're in a task like just washing dishes, or you're doing the laundry, and then you just randomly hear your name and turn around and nobody's there, because they could get in. I think because it competes with all the stuff that's in your brain all the time.
Right. That's a good point.
Very good point. What's your take? What do you think about attachments? And I want to talk about attachments with you really quick. And
you will not find an antique in my house. Period. Other than me. It's like, I totally, like, there are just, have you ever been in like an antique store or someplace selling older things? And I guess it doesn't even have to be necessarily old, but you just see something and you're like, I can't have that.
Gives you the heebie-jeebies.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been like that, going as a kid, like going into antique stores. The heavy feeling, almost like you get a little nauseous, a little vertigo-y in there. Well, obviously now I know why, but
I was talking to a guy just today. He owns the Old Park Hotel in Ballinger, Texas. We recorded an episode of the Grape Talks. And he said after they bought it, I think there was dolls in there already. Then there's some spirits of children. So I think people were bringing some dolls. And then people started bringing dolls to him that are like, we think this is a haunted doll. And I'm like, at what point did you say, hell no, I do not want your haunted doll?
No way.
But I said, maybe you're doing a public service for people, because that's pretty nice to get rid of the haunted doll for them. But he said that there's 2 dolls in there that the people who brought the dolls said they do not like to be separated, always keep them together.
Oh my goodness.
And so
what happens if they are
He didn't go into a lot of detail. He says that's an entire episode on its own, but apparently some people tried it because he only rents out the hotel for paranormal investigations. And they were like, they told him the next day, we separated the dolls just to see what would happen. It was the worst idea ever. And so, yes, I totally believe in that.
So fascinating. Fascinating, but no, I wouldn't want necessarily to have that.
The dolls creepy.
I think you got to watch what you bring into your house. And
I agree.
You know, and you don't need all the stuff you bring in your house anyway, really. And so that old antique mirror doll, I don't want to. I had him when I was working in radio. I like Abraham Lincoln, and I don't know why. I'm fascinated by him. So this woman was at an estate sale and found a bust, like regular size head of Abraham Lincoln. It's not like a miniature one. It's like big one. And
oh, wow.
It was funny because recently on Facebook, in my Facebook memories, I was like, oh my God, I just walked into the house with my Abraham Lincoln bust and my dog was freaking out. And I was like, it's haunted. This is a haunted Abe Lincoln head. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And so I kept it covered up in a corner for a while. And I'm like, that's stupid. It is Abraham Lincoln. And I do like him. But I felt like he was watching me everywhere I went. And so eventually I just got kind of used to it. I don't think it's haunted at all, but I just think I got that creepy feeling and then my dog's reaction to it. But then my dog had never seen anything like that. He didn't know what it was.
Know. But
I was convinced it was had some weird attachment. But I don't think it did.
So you didn't put it on your nightstand? Have it there?
It is in my living room. Now it's with my collection because then somebody else bought me another one. So I have plenty.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to look around here because I'm in the land of Lincoln we have an antique store and I'm going to look for an Abraham
Tell
Lincoln
me that
bust
you got it at a gift shop and then I'll be more open to it. But if you tell me antique store, I'm going to be like, Todd, that was so sweet.
Here it is.
Save the shipping.
No, but there's so much that we can talk about. And we only have just a little bit more time. I want to talk about your podcast and what you do. And oh my goodness, the amazing work you do. Tell us about Real Ghost Stories Online and the Grave Talks.
Well, Real Ghost Stories Online and the Grave Talks, those are actually Tony Bruschi's shows. And Tony and I worked together in radio for a long time. And he started Real Ghost Stories first. He has started working in true crime and just couldn't do both things. And so after 30 years, I went into work one day as people do. And it's like, this is your last day. So I was like, oh. So I'd been at that point hosting with him for like 3 years, I think. And so I continued co-hosting with him. And then when the podcast, the true crime stuff was really taking off for him, he's like, I can't do both. Is there any way you could help me out with the paranormal stuff? So I'm like, oh, yeah. So he hired me to do both of those shows. And so I get to line up the guests and put the stories together and record them and produce them and post them. And so it's really 8 hours, at least a day, of talking about paranormal things. So at the end of the day, I always watch House Hunters or Schitt's Creek or Golden Girls or something.
Golden Girls. I love Golden Girls.
Clear my head. Because sometimes that stuff sticks with you. And then you go to bed and you just lay there thinking something's going to grab my foot. I just know
I can imagine from 8 hours every day. Oh my gosh.
Some of the calls that you have had have been eye-opening.
And some of the Grave Talks guests have been really interesting. And, just they're, because I always like to find out what even got them into the paranormal. What, if you're a paranormal investigator, like the guy today buying a haunted hotel, how'd you get there? So to me, that's always fascinating because that's a journey in itself. And everybody's got a story where it started, as both of you do. There's a reason, the jumping off point that really got you interested. So I always find that very interesting. And then all of the various Sorry, my cat wants to be on again.
Izzy. Oh,
just fine.
It's like, I can't get around
Adorable.
behind you today.
She
He's
says,
just
I have
gonna,
a story too I want to share.
wants to walk right in front. But so to me, like, that's really interesting. And on the Real Ghost Story shows, some of those calls, people are calling because they want advice on something. And,
Right. Yeah.
it's hard to give someone, unless you've been there, you can't really say. But sometimes, maybe there are some things they haven't tried yet or some things they haven't thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
mean, absolutely. And I'm sure you've got some extreme. What's one of the wackiest ones you've ever heard? One of the craziest, most chilling that you've ever heard so far, Carol?
I don't know. Like every day it's a new one. And, some of those grave talks ones and the stories that they share, like the one today, the first time after he bought the hotel, he walked in with a couple other guys and they're going to go through and, we need to redo this. We've got to fix this, and kind of prioritizing what they want to do with the hotel now that it's his. Then he said he heard like this static thing, and it was just getting louder and louder and louder. And then he heard an older woman, like not just in front of him or behind him, but kind of all around him, said, "Hello." And he said it was really loud. And it was an older woman who just said hello. And so he was like, and then he had a really good point. Like, was the staticky stuff like breaking through that barrier that we have between us and them? Was that what that static was? And I never really thought of that before, but I'm like, that makes some sense. But, to be in a place, you just bought it and then have somebody say hello. I'm like, that was so.
I'm wondering if it was a past relative of his, maybe, or someone he knew.
But
Someone stopped by for a visit.
Yeah.
And he said that he's had some psychics in, and more than one psychic has told him there's a woman who follows him throughout the building, and that people could feel her as she passes them because it's really ice cold. Like all of a sudden your back's like you're in a freezer. Then it's your side. Then it's your front. It's like, it's her. And I'm like, I wonder if that's a woman who said hello. Maybe she appreciates the fact that he's there to help. And, he's putting money back into it, and nobody's tearing it down, which it could be. Any old building built in 1886 could be torn down at any time because we kind of do that in the U.S. We tear down historic buildings every day.
Yeah.
And so it could be somebody that's happy with what he's doing. So, but every day, I swear, I'll hear a story. Then I'm like, oh, like I talked to Dr. Reverend Sean Whittington. And he was on the Legion of Exorcists. And he was fascinating. Like I was kind of freaked out to talk to him. And he ended up being a really great guy. And I'm going to be on a show with him next month. And I'm like, what do I have to say to an exorcist? I don't know. Like, do you drink coffee? I don't know.
Do you drink coffee?
Just in my brain, my point of reference is The Exorcist. And so I am assuming it's some guy like that. And it's not. It wasn't at all. So, so every day it's just different. Every day I hear a story that makes me kind of look at the world a little bit differently and look at places and people a little bit differently.
What an amazing job to have, though. That's just so
my
cool.
gosh. Totally.
I mean, to sit there and hear all of these experiences and to give out all that advice and everything, that's remarkable.
Well, I don't know if anybody really wants my advice, but
it's just
but my sister hosts quite a few. Sorry, my cat is just determined to get back here and
totally pet friendly.
I think it's adorable. Izzy, yes. My cat is like thing,
gonna knock lights down any minute, and so if I suddenly disappear, you'll know why. But my sister, who does a lot of the Grave Talks episodes with me, somehow he's fit behind my computer screen. I don't know.
It's adorable.
But My sister, she has a lot of experiences, and it doesn't matter. Get your rear end out of here. It does not matter where she lives or anything. She has experiences. Every house she lives in. So I wonder about people like her. Is it
like a magnet?
Yeah. Do they just know you're around? So it's like, I can go mess with her, or, what is it about some people that, I just think it goes with them wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I've had experiences in places that I've lived in, and I don't to this day believe they were haunted. I don't know what the shadow person was that walked by me, but that happened in a non-haunted house. So I do think that things can get through, even if you're not in a haunted location.
Oh, totally. I believe so too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't agree more. And go ahead, Nicole. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a link regarding Lincoln. Okay, so Jessica, I've seen a man ghost as a child, looked like Abraham Lincoln, long black hat. He was wearing a black suit and disappeared to the wall where my mom's lamp was. Crazy, LOL. I will never forget that ghost.
That's
interesting.
That is so cool.
Can you imagine
cool. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And at that time too, that was kind of the fashion. The men wore the top hats and those long coats. But Abe Lincoln would be very recognizable, very tall and lanky.
Like 7 feet. And his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, she's very much into spiritualism too.
Mm-hmm.
So that might play into it a little bit.
Oh my goodness. We have got to have you back. This just isn't enough time.
Oh yes.
It's
happening.
Time. We barely scratched the surface. Real quick, tell folks where they can find you, the podcast, everything, get it out there. I put the links also in there, but I wanted to make sure.
Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us. And one show is Real Ghost Stories Online. And that is listeners submit their stories. They can write it in, then call it in and just leave the recording, and then we'll talk about it. Another one is the Grave Talks. And that is a interview-based format where I talk to people from psychics to Nicole. Nicole and I are going to do another episode on pets that have passed and experiences. So many people have had experiences hearing their pet. And then it's like, oh, you hear your dog's collar. And then it's like, wait, my dog isn't here anymore. So we're going to do an episode on that. But we do everything from haunted locations to exorcists to psychics we talked about the afterlife and Nicole's book. And so a lot of just the unexplained and paranormal is how I refer to it. We talk about everything paranormal and unexplained.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I talked about cryptids before. I don't know totally where I fall there, but I think there's enough buzz about it. There's got to be something there.
Yeah.
So anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can hear them.
Still on the fence about cryptids. I'm there
because I've never seen one.
I've never experienced one either. I'm with you there.
Yeah, it goes back to that. I don't have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to believe in it because I've never experienced that.
I'm with you on that too. I think the only possibility for me, and I don't even classify this as really an experience. I was driving to Julian. It's an old mining town east of San Diego, northeast. And I thought I saw something. And again, it just could have been my eyes because it was dusk. It looked like it was a bird, like a crow or a hawk, like fly and go down to the level of the road. And then it turned into like whatever. It looked like it turned into like a 4-legged like coyote. Again, I'm not saying it was really valid. It was weird, whatever that was. But that's it for me. So I don't know where I stand either.
I think I might be a believer after that.
Close. Damn close. But there's just so much more that we can talk about with you, Carol, and I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your schedule to come on here.
Oh, thanks for having me do this. This is a lot of fun.
What an amazing time. And I look forward to having you back here real soon to get into maybe some cryptids. We may scratch maybe some UFOs, maybe talk about some things a little out of our comfort zones.
That would be great. I would do it.
Good idea.
That'd be a blast. That'd be a blast. And for all you folks listening, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to tune in tonight. Be sure and stay tuned. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we've got Passport to the Paranormal. Dr. Heather Lee and Joe Frankie are going to be talking about paranormal equipment tonight and analyzing with those tools. So they're going to be talking about that. That runs from 9 to 11 here following this show. And if you missed any part of the show, everything's being recorded. You can find us right there. Just search Haunted Voices Radio on Google, and it'll bring up the latest podcast for you wherever you guys get fed. And be sure to check out our guest, Carol Hughes, links as well. Both of those have been put in the comment section there for you fine folks. So just click on them away, and you are most welcome, Katie. And from all of us here at WLTK-DB Talk Radio and, of course, Haunted Voices, you guys have a phenomenal week. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.